About a mid-sized, I say about a mid-sized after-school education and sports program called KC United, and um, you probably came in and we were talking about some of the summer things that are going on. We just finished part of our summer camp, and so now we're going into the big part, which is our nine week football program, football league, which starts in September and runs through November. And then we have a component for the parents called Game Changers. Wow! So we'll focus on a team. And then while that team is at practice, we'll pull the parents out for 2 hours once a week and just pour into those parents and try to provide them resources and support mechanisms that'll help them be the best parents they can be. So this is what we do.
Oh, very cool. Great.
Glad you're here. Glad you're here.
Yeah. Do you want to, I guess, introduce yourself too and tell some
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm here locally in Overland Park, and actually had a chance to attend the, I guess, the Project Play sort of thing a little while back. So that's how I kind of found out about what's going on here. I'm the director of operations for Play Like a Champion Today educational series. So we're a national nonprofit. We do a couple of things that are relevant. Probably predominantly, we've trained, I think, over 160,000 coaches, parents, and student athletes in kind of a character-driven approach to youth and high school sports. So we have separate programs in youth and high school. But then also since 2017, we've done a lot of work with under-resourced communities in Chicago, South Bend, Indiana, where we originally started at, and Philadelphia, working to kind of provide a backbone is sort of a collective impact model to provide opportunities for kids to play youth sports and leverage collective impact to help the sort of disparate organizations and clubs and such within those communities come together and pool resources and work together to provide more opportunities for kids. So we operate sort of all over the country, but we have a couple partners here in Kansas City. And actually, Adrian, I think we might have met, would have been over a decade ago. I was working with the CYO on the Kansas side in Wyandotte and Johnson counties. And that's one of the partners we've worked with throughout the years. So I shifted from working here in town and working on the youth sports sort of level here in Johnson and Wyandotte counties primarily to about 7 years ago now took on this role and kind of work nationally out of Kansas City. So
Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you guys do much locally for Play Like a Champion?
We do. So we do all the training. We have both a public school component and a faith-based component. So we do all the training for the parochial schools on the Missouri and Kansas side in the metro area. It's the same program for them. It's sort of skews towards their mission. But we do all the training for parents and coaches on both sides. So that's about, it's 5,000 to 6,000 kids on the Kansas side. I know that in Johnson and Wyandotte counties. And then I'm not sure the number on the Missouri side, but it certainly stretches out across the metro area. So we've predominantly, those are the biggest things we've done here locally. But as I said, we've done a lot of stuff throughout, especially in Missouri, across the state as well. We did Missouri hockey for a number of years. We've done that throughout the state of Missouri. So kind of in the more public domain. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll give you just a little bit of background. Some of it you probably heard at our summit a couple months ago. This is the sports sector group of the Kansas City Physical Activity Plan. The Physical Activity Plan is bigger than just youth sports. We do 10 total sectors is where we're operating in. And we've come up with strategies and tactics in each one of those sectors to create safe and equitable opportunities for people to be active throughout their life. For the sports sector, for this sector. About a year ago at this time, our members made the decision that we wanted to help implement our strategies and tactics and to get better, to get broader buy-in within the Kansas City region and the youth sports providers, is to partner with the Aspen Institute. And so that's in September of last year, we started our year-long partnership with them to be I think we're the 13th or either 13th or 14th Project Play city in the country. The summit that you attended was about halfway through the process, and we are getting close to wrapping up that that partnership with them right now. And so while we've been doing that partnership with the Aspen Institute, this sector has, I don't want to say they haven't done a lot, but most of the work has happened within this Project Play initiative. And less has happened within this working group, although we still meet monthly. The idea is that as we exit out the year of the state of play and transition out of that, that hopefully this group starts to become a little bit bigger like it was. As of right now, there's 3 people here really, and we expect it to be much bigger once we actually start implementing some of the state of play information and recommendations. And so where we're at in the process is just last week, we received the draft report that Aspen has created, and we're spending the month of July reviewing that, making any edits or suggested changes. And then it'll go into kind of final production in August, and then in September, the week of September 16th, we are planning a formal launch of the report. So I think the purpose of today's meeting, and Natalie, feel free to hop in at any time if I'm getting us off track, but is to go over some of the big picture ideas that are in the draft Project Play report and get this group's feedback on it. And then we can send it back to the Aspen team. Anything else, Natalie?
No, I think that's good. I'm trying to figure out how to share this draft in the chat. Oh, does everyone see that?
Yeah, I don't know. I always get confused. In Teams, I don't think you can send a document, but it looks like here we can. Yeah.
I don't know if everyone will have access.
Oh, yeah.
When they open
I can
it.
just kind of share my screen too, or you can share your screen.
Yeah.
Like it's 30 some pages long, so obviously we can't go. I'm trying to pull it up on my computer.
Mine is loading slowly, sorry.
Okay. Well, here you go. Let me share my screen.
I was able to open it, if that helps, but
Oh. Well, great. And I think they sent a couple documents, so I think there should be agreement between the two. This is the recommendation. So the first is establish local athletic councils to coordinate how sports are offered. And there's a lot there, but the key mechanisms that the councils could employ are coordinating with schools and sports providers, permitting and regulation, funding and grants, facilities management, community outreach and engagement. Community outreach and engagement. And I think these really came up as frequent comments, both at the summit and in key informant interviews before the summit. I remember, I think even Adrian, you might even spoke on some of these things at the summit a little bit. As challenges your organization could do. There's some state things which, you know, it's always unclear how much our little group will have on state level policy, but they're listed there. The one, probably the biggest one, is this regional recommendation. And I think that Aspen has this as being one of the key parts of what they're going to recommend. And that's Children's Bill of Rights Sports Recognition Program. Children's Bill of Rights includes these 8 rights that you see here: to play sports, to play in safe and healthy environments, to have qualified program leaders, developmentally appropriate play, share in planning and delivery of activities, an equal opportunity for personal growth, to be treated with dignity, and to enjoy themselves. And I think what Aspen wants our feedback on as to whether there can be some sort of recognition program around this. So like it would be completely voluntary, but let's just say, I'll say KC United. KC United could apply to be recognized as an entity, a provider that achieves some status level, you know, gold, silver, or bronze, or whatever you would call it, for these things. And the entity, KC United, would say how they met all of these criterias, and there'd be some guidance around it. And, you know, there's lots of logistics that it would have to be worked out, but if they meet a certain criteria, then KC United would be classified as, you know, a Children's Bill of Rights Gold Star provider. And so that's like one key element, is, you know, kind of trying to get providers to meet these levels that, you know, I think have some evidence behind them as, you know, being hallmarks of a quality sports program. But then I think that there would also be like a secondary piece outside of the recognition, where there would be services and resources provided to sports providers to help them attain this, you know, a gold star rating. So for example, like, let's just say that you don't have, you know, developmentally appropriate play. All of your kids ages 6 to 16, they're basically doing the same thing. You know? There would be resources or training available to get your program to offer age-appropriate trainings, practices, and competitions. There'd be other things like the Royals already do this through their academies. They offer, and I'm going to screw up the language here, but they offer like town ball leagues, I think they call them. It's specifically for kids who didn't make their traveling team or don't want to be on a multi-state traveling team, but still want to play competitive sports as they progress into middle school and high school. There's opportunities for those, so they're increasing access to a key group where youth sports typically drops off. So they might be able to like provide trainings on certain things within their program and how to become a member of their program, things like that. So I kind of, I think Aspen is interested in our feedback on this, and whether we think that this is one of the things that should come out of this state of play report. And the last thing I'll say on it is that these things align almost perfectly with the sports sector strategies that we developed a few years ago. I think this is, and I may be getting them wrong a little bit, but strategy 26 and 27 and maybe even 28 all are about something like this, some flavor of this, a regional entity that kind of ties organizations together, provides resources on best practices for youth sports. With that, what are, and maybe Jay has brought this up before, and it's listed in this document. Tennessee has their Safe Stars youth sports rating system, which Jay has talked about before. It's specific to sports safety, but it's a similar model that could be implemented with the Bill of Rights. So I don't know if Jay, you wanted to add anything to it or not.
Yeah, Alex Diamond at Vanderbilt did it a long time ago, like 5 or 6 years ago. But it's a pretty cool idea. And each of the programs, they can, advertise, hey, we're like this hockey program is a Gold Star program and somebody else hasn't even done this. So that way families kind of know, hey, this is probably maybe a better run organization or an organization that really, puts youth safety and equality or all the different things. I think you can have, they've got like 20 or 30 different modules that programs can go through, and they don't have to go through all of them to get a Gold Star or Silver Star, but there's, you meet a certain number of, say, coaches or parents that have read the stuff about concussion education and preventing, coach abuse and things like that, are all on there. So it's a wide ranging bunch of modules, and I'm sure that, I don't think anyone would have to completely reinvent the wheel to do something like this. They could probably, if we came up with the idea and came up with the program and then went and talked to Tennessee Safe Stars program, we could probably use a lot of the stuff they already have and just license it, or I don't know exactly how that would work, but I don't think it's a very cost prohibitive thing. There's probably some sort of donation or fee to use some of the modules, but probably not all the modules. And I'd have to find some more specifics on that kind of stuff. But yeah, I was kind of envisioning us doing something like that a while back, because it just seemed like such a good idea when they presented it to everybody. And it's not perfect, nothing is, but it kind of ensures that we get some coaches and parents and even players kind of at least getting educated on a lot of this stuff.
So any initial thoughts or comments about this? Whether this is a good idea or not a good idea, or whether there's a need for it, or whether there might be a institution that makes sense where this might sit within, or anything.
Just a thought from kind of perspective where I've seen this stuff done before. I think that you mentioned an institution that it houses within. I think that just saying it's a Gold Star program probably doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people. But if it's a, certified by, and three of you are from Children's Mercy, but a reputable local organization or something like that that sort of has the name on it, now all of a sudden parents know what that means. I just, obviously this comes from Project Play. We've been involved with them for a long time, and I've been going to their conferences, I think, since they began. We were recognized a couple of years ago as, I think, a Project Play champion. They recognize like 20 organizations every year, right? Which, I don't know, put on our website and stuff like that, but I'm not sure how much that even means to other people that don't know Project Play, right? So I think the local buy-in would be huge for having somebody say, oh, okay, this is why parents should care. So that would be kind of my thought on this. And then, the other thing would just be down the road, how specific do you get in terms of, well, is it just we check a couple boxes and we're certified, or is it a little more intensive to make sure, adults and kids are going through a little more of a process so we know they're getting what they need.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. What name you put next to the Gold Star matters a lot. And that's where the Tennessee State Stars, Vanderbilt Sports Medicine right next to it. I mean, that mattered a lot to them. So I think, Children's Mercy Sports Medicine, or just Children's Mercy in general, and the idea of being collaborative across the whole entire KCPA plan, KU would be another great partner for that. Put both those, KU Med Sports Medicine, Children's Mercy Sports Medicine, put our names on there together. I think that would carry a lot of weight, I would think. But yeah, definitely open to other names being on there. I don't think it's just got to be us, but yeah.
What do you guys think about pro sports teams being attached to this in any way? Like, let's just say, and I guess I'll be frank, Aspen has dangled out there if Children's Mercy would be the lead entity in collaboration with Chiefs, Royals, Sporting, and Current. Is there?
Yeah, I just know from marketing and doing things with all the sports stuff, if you want Chiefs, Royals, Current, KU is going to have to be involved. If you want their names on it, KU is not going to let their name be right next to Children's Mercy without any KU thing next to that. Sporting, that part's easy. We can partner with them and whatever. But yeah, the marketing part has been a barrier to a lot of things. So
if that could get worked out, do you think it adds much value or not?
I think it does. I mean, I think it does in more ways than one. I think you can also, Sporting, Current have access to probably a lot of soccer education information stuff, or through, from them through FIFA or something like that. NFL and Pop Warner and all those kind of things, they've partnered together for a long time. Youth baseball and MLB have partnered together. So I mean, the idea I think behind this is not have to start from scratch, is to use all these already available resources that those big clubs have. So we might as well partner with them, and having their name on it's, I think, always good. It gets just people, they pay a little more attention. If they see a Chiefs logo on it, they look at it a little closer. I don't know. That's my thought.
I think by and large, that's exactly right. The one thing I might say, though, is that probably makes, as you just alluded to, that probably makes things much less nimble in terms of being able to actually action items if you've got to then push it through. And I don't know if the Chiefs have to go through the NFL to then be able to promote something locally. There's that all stuff could come into play, but I don't know if that even matters. If it's just putting a name next to something, then yeah, that's a win.
What do you think, Adrian? About all this?
I mean, I'm loving what I'm hearing. Mike Watson, who came out of, I think he's UMKC's all-time leading scorer or something like that, but he has a youth basketball program called Mentality and does crazy work with those kids. I'm just thinking on top of my head of some other local entities that could see the value in something like this. I don't want one of the, and I'm not trying to shift the gears, but one of the challenges that we're finding, and I've heard a couple of coaches make this statement, is that unfortunately, in the urban core, a lot of our sports are hobbies and not a way of life. And what I mean by that is you go down south, I mean, football, I mean, sports and stuff like that, it's just a way of life. It just is what it is. And so to get that kind of buy-in, I see it, but to get folks to really get that buy-in, Parks and Rec and stuff like that, it's who are struggling to get kids to do different types of things. So because the community doesn't see it as a viable interpretation, doesn't see youth sports as this viable vehicle for health and things of that nature. So just trying to get people to see the bigger picture, because I sent Mayor Lucas's proclamation to our mayor, and didn't hear a yay, didn't hear a nay, didn't hear get out of my face, didn't hear anything. You know what I mean? So that's one of the challenges. But like I said, with groups like Mike Watson, and he's also on the school board at Raytown, so he might be a person just to have him consider looking at this, as well as KC United, and saying, what could this do for? Oh, and he also works for 810, I think. So he does basketball games. He's a play-by-play guy, right? So
Does he do a food access thing too, right?
yeah.
Yeah, because he spoke at our, when was that, January quarterly meeting? Is that right? Something like that, within the past year. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that could be a voice that could get this idea out to the masses. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm not trying to dull it down. Trust me, I'm just always trying to look at both sides. But Mike might be a good person to talk to about this.
Yeah, after the harvest. That's right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good point. It's a constant struggle we face, is like, oh yeah, physical activity, that's a nice fun thing to do on the weekends, when you got some free time. But of course we know that there's lots of other benefits to it. Trust me, I face it in our organization all the time. Peter, have you seen other versions of this across the country?
Not enough, honestly. I mean, I've seen, trying to even think of, you know what, honestly, the biggest one I've seen that I've seen traction on is sort of what Project Play does. They're champions, because I've seen that with local institutions that are putting on, pick your local club or whatever that has put that on, or local Parks and Rec that has put that on their sort of banner. So that's probably the best one I've seen in terms of just sort of like an accreditation, which I think, I mean, it means something to me. I know now, okay, this organization is trying to do things the right way. So I think it's a positive thing.
Yeah, I think, it's always helpful to listen to Aspen, because, they work in all these different parts of the countries, all these different entities, and, they have a really good sense of what's happening and what's not happening. And So I think that that's kind of, they share your opinion is things like this aren't happening enough. And there might be, I think it's nice for them to look at Kansas City and say, you know, this is a region that has a lot of the pieces already, elements in place that can pull off something like this. Yeah.
We might, as a region, be better positioned than many of the other local places they've worked with. I mean, I've read a lot of their reports, and obviously there's some good stuff out there, but in the partners we work with across the country, there is definitely a lot more silos in other places. In Kansas City, there seems to be a little more, I don't know, willingness to cooperate. I don't know why that is. Maybe we're just used to it across state lines and things like that. But it might actually be kind of ripe to sort of get buy-in from whether children, even just what we're talking about a minute ago, from a Children's Mercy or local, professional sports teams, Chiefs, Royals, whatever, that would be necessary to make that work, right? To have something behind that.
And I think that, getting back to Jay's points, that the partnerships do matter, sponsorships matter. That's why the center that Natalie, Kelly, and I work for is nicely positioned because we're actually a joint center between Children's Mercy and KU Med. So we can kind of, like I pull out different business cards based on who I'm talking to, because I'm technically a Children's Mercy employee, but I also have appointments at KU Med and centers affiliated with them, so we can sometimes, it's a good example of collaboration, first of all, and might be a good place to put in some of these kind of otherwise thorny issues.
I think a point Adrian made actually might be really worth thinking about this, at least sort of initially from a perspective of like the public looking at an organization and saying, oh, this is a good place to have my kids participate or whatever, something to that effect. But I would echo what you had said about the difficulty of organizations getting any kind of notice from or collaboration from other community organizations. I mean, we've done a ton of work in South Bend, which is much smaller than Kansas City. And it's like pulling teeth to get the local school district, public school district, to recognize, some of the folks who are doing great things with after school programs in the community. And that should not be that hard in a community of that size, but it is. And those are some of the same things, I mean, people all over Kansas City are dealing with. So is there a sort of, from the opposite side of this, is this a cause to create more collaboration because they see that this organization, KC United, whatever, is considered a gold standard, or is recognized by Children's Mercy, Chiefs, whoever, right? Whoever's behind that, KU. That might actually just create more collaboration and collective work within the community, even aside from knowing where to put kids.
Right. Any other comments? The one, there's a couple things that I've been thinking about. One is that by let's just say we could get the pro sports teams involved. Would that seem like the focus is football, baseball, and soccer? at the expense of, say, dance, volleyball, whatever. I don't think that that's like a insurmountable challenge, but I think it's a legitimate concern. But
I mean, with dance, you could have something like Kansas City Ballet join on. I mean, doesn't have to be limited to just the huge money making pro teams. I mean, volleyball, there can be, you know, hockey, you could have the Mavericks. I don't know what an equivalent volleyball thing would be, but I'm sure I could talk to a couple of my athletic trainers who really know volleyball and they could give us some ideas. But yeah, I mean, you make a good point. Does it marginalize some of the other sports? But I think you work with what you got. I don't know.
yeah,
I also think we're getting a pro women's volleyball team, I think next year.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and they're interested. I met with them. I met with them maybe 2 months ago. They're interested in what we're doing. Someone from City in Motion, which is Kansas City's oldest dance nonprofit, they're interested in this work too. So
We've worked with someone from USA Tennis on one of our implementation projects too.
right,
For the
that's right.
Parks and Rec
Forgot
sector.
about that. And I think Bill has been, well, and after the tee, right? For golf.
First tee.
First tee. Yeah.
Yeah, and I could do some more research on the Tennessee Safe Stars program. I mean, they might have already done this with USA Volleyball, USA Tennis, USA Basketball, USA Baseball, like the big national organization. Maybe that's all you need too. If they signed on for that thing, they'd probably sign on to anybody else's.
Yeah.
On the one hand, it probably like, yeah, getting everybody sort of on there would be great. I mean, that's like, but on the other hand, from a branding perspective, is it almost easier if you go the opposite way and you just say, do you really need anything else other than like KU and Children's Mercy? Like, is anybody sitting there saying, well, shoot, you know, the Chiefs aren't on there, so this means nothing. I don't think that's the case, right? So in some sense, maybe it overcomplicates it, but
Yeah.
it does create a broader reach.
I think our experience on this project has shown it's hard to get all those people to meet at the same time too.
Yeah.
But maybe their involvement is they put their name on it, give a little money and say, just don't do anything weird. And then we take care of all the legwork, building the modules or whatever, certifying the people.
If something like this was to be put in place, and I'll share my screen again. There you go. So these are the eight pillars of the Children's Bill of Rights. So, you know, they are succinct and to the point. And like if something came up, or if we decided to, like, you know, create some sort of multi-level recognition system, we'd have to be more specific than what's currently here. Obviously, we would want Aspen's input on some of this stuff because they created it. But would you say that there needs to be some sort of like advisory council beyond just, like, you know, let's just say the pro sports teams on what these things are? Or is there some other way to quantify how well an organization makes an effort to for example, accommodate children's interest to participate, any thoughts on that?
I have one thought that kind of relates to that. Would it be helpful if everyone thinks this is something that we do want to try to create? Would it be helpful for me to get a hold of Alex or who's ever in charge of Tennessee Safe Stars now and just have them come to one of our sports meetings and let us pick their brain a little bit if we can make it work?
Totally. I mean, I think even if we never even did this, I think it'd be good to hear about what they're doing and how they're doing it and how they came up with it. Yeah.
Because I know Canty knows him pretty well. I don't know him that well, but I'm sure I can get in touch with him and try.
Yeah. Great. Another element, and this has come up with some other things that we've done that have in slightly different domains, is that it's easy for us to come up, for a group of people to come up with what they think are like clear standards for success, but things to one group that may seem as appropriate may, due to lots of factors, may just be completely unattainable for other groups or populations or things like that. So you've got to always have some eye towards all of these socioeconomic factors that play into this. So one thing I don't think we would want to do is to create a system that just rewards the organizations that operate in Johnson County with a lot of money, right? So I think that that's something that we would have to really keep on our mind if we moved forward.
It occurs to me that these are fairly subjective, and they should be for that reason. I mean, like, it's easy to say, well, what's the best metric for how you're creating opportunity for kids? What's your participation numbers, right?
Yeah.
But we all know there's groups with very small comparative participation who are doing a much better job than huge organizations. So there'd almost have to be like a council or some type of group that reviews and awards based on applications or whatever.
I know there is there's a group who does this like a Black Business Award thing every year. And they look at all the various categories, things of that nature. What I'm liking about the way this conversation is going is that if we're talking about trying to put youth sports out there in a different way, the idea of an advisory group who nominates a group or have the community nominate entities that they know of who are hitting these particular criteria and make it kind of like because I mean, people vote like every day. I mean, people are on Facebook and they're voting for these different folks when that thing goes, it goes. So that way it could get the community more involved, and it could also not just be a urban thing or a rural thing or suburban thing. We could get all three of those entities to really support those youth sports programs that are in your city that are doing the work that you know of. And then make it, I don't know about a big thing, but I mean, that a gold standard, I mean, that's huge. I mean, and then talking about, Children's Mercy / KU, or flip it whichever way they want it to happen, might generate more energy, and people participating, and trying to give more opportunities for kids to participate in sports. So yeah, I think you guys got some good ideas going. And I'm still looking for 3 coaches. If you know any ladies that want to coach flag football, I'm looking for 3. We'll train them. They just got to coach and come and coach our 2nd grade flag team. Other than that, that's it.
Yeah, and I think that there, as I've learned talking with you and other organizations, that is a huge need. And like, that's kind of where I mentioned, there's the recognition program. I think there has to be some sort of also complementary resource service provider thing where like you're needing qualified coaches. Here's where can find people to be coaches or referees. I think you mentioned that before.
Yeah.
Maybe that is an entirely different topic as well, probably even you go off on, but we've done a ton of work with not just trying to improve the number of coaches, which is obviously a huge need, but with female coaches. And that is, so we actually have some national resources and folks we know who've tried to help us with that, that might be able to provide some materials that, go along with like nationally known, recognized organizations on the women's side, especially. We just had a couple speakers at our conference that are doing some things. So that's a massive need literally everywhere, and that could be a huge part of this.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll kind of put a bow on this conversation. So what's happening now is we will kind of share this information back to the Aspen Institute, and hopefully it will kind of inform their recommendations in their report. We don't have a date scheduled yet for the official launch. We just know it's going to be sometime in the week of September 16th. So we are scheduled to meet next month. I think we'll go over that in a second when that is. But we'll provide more updates then. And I think we can kind of always get some feedback on it. So, Natalie, what else do we have? I know there are probably a couple other things that we might want to talk about. Okay.
Yep. We've got our quarterly meeting coming up in September. It's going to be focused on our REACH project here in Kansas City, around 3 strategy areas: physical activity, nutrition, and increasing family healthy weight programming throughout Kansas City. So each of those groups are going to take some time to introduce us to their projects and initiatives and talk about how the community and other organizations might be able to get involved. You can register by scanning the link there. Another thing is we have
in person or online. You can do either. In person, you get a free breakfast and coffee.
Yeah, it'll be at the Kauffman Foundation Conference Center. We have our Move Together KC campaign launch on July 15th. So they're asking
Monday.
Yeah. So they're asking for our help with that. Easy way to do that would be to tag Move Together KC after you share a photo or video showing how or why you move. It can be an individual one or organizational. And then I think they'll be sharing a lot of those on that day.
And even if you don't want to do this, I'll raise my hand. I'm not the type of guy who likes to post how I move each day, but at a minimum, we would like you or your organization to follow us on Instagram or Facebook and just even like or repost what we're posting on Monday, the 15th. Just as a reminder, Move Together KC is the public facing version of the Kansas City Physical Activity Plan. We know most people in the public who aren't active in youth sports or anything like that, they don't really care about physical activity plans. So our public facing version of this is Move Together KC. Likewise, if your organization wants to be featured in an upcoming like partner spotlight post, so KC United, Play Like a Champion, if you want us to freely promote your organization, just let us know and we can schedule that in the weeks and months ahead of time. We try to do that once a week. We try to spotlight a partner of ours.
There's also an updated press release on our website, and I put the link in the chat for how you can access the resources, pictures, B-roll, talking points about the campaign.
That's another great point. We have on our website that Natalie just posted, we have images and videos of local people in Kansas City and local Kansas City settings doing a variety of different activities. So if like KC United is featured on KCTV5 and they just need some B-roll footage of some kids playing a sport, you can use that for free on our website. That's kind of why it's there. Or you're making a flyer, you're making a little Facebook ad and you're looking for a picture of a kid playing a sport or something, just go and you can grab that footage for free.
Yeah, and then just the last thing was our next meeting.
Great. Thanks everybody for coming. Like I said, right now we're a super small group because most of our work is happening within the Aspen Institute stuff, but it's going to gear back up, and especially as we end the year of State of Play KC and transition to implementing what they recommend, this is going to just be a great forum to be involved and work collaboratively. So, anybody else have any announcements that they want to make for the group? Upcoming events? What's that?
I forgot one. John asked us, he needs more pictures for the State of Play report. So if you have kids being active, send them our way.
Do
Yeah.
it.
So we have some, like I mentioned, but they always want more. So
Usually September through November, pretty much I'm out with football season and everything going on. So if you don't see me September through first week of November, that's what we're doing.
can we bribe you to come to the State of Play launch? Just need
Probably.
an hour.
And then with my travel with KLC, I don't know. I'll have to see, but
Okay.
it's really packed about that time. But I'll see what I can do.
Okay.
I got one thing just to want everybody try to keep in the back of their minds. I think with and I talked about this at the big meeting the other day, but just with the American Medical Society for Sports Medicine coming in town next spring, and then World Cup, FIFA stuff, I think we got a couple opportunities for some community service projects with both those organizations centered around sports and youth stuff. And I don't know if there's a way to combine them or just do them separate. They don't have to be the same thing, but I'm sure people can get them doing some soccer stuff, and with the AMSSM, we can do anything related to sports. So if there's a field that needs to be redone, you get maybe a couple hundred hands on it on Thursday in April for that AMSSM meeting. So something like that.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, great to meet you all. Thanks for.
Yeah, thanks for
Great to
coming,
meet you,
Peter. Yeah, really
Great
appreciate it.
job, everybody. Thank you.
All right.